The United States helped Israel with the decapitating the Islamic Republic. Where the United States is, like we heard so much of like, oh, Israel, stop, don't go to Lebanon, don't attack Lebanon, don't attack Hezbollah, and now the United States itself is in Lebanon. Admiral Cooper is leading the Lebanese army against Hezbollah. So it's and also they keep saying again, I don't endorse it. I criticize the Trump administration, President Trump, for speaking like that against Israel. I don't like it at all, especially JD Vance. None of that language is helpful. But what's actually happening, if you look at what's happening behind the scenes, the United States is pushing forward when it comes integrating its military with Israeli military much, much more than before. So there's a lot that is happening behind the scenes, and Israel has done some amazing things recently, but all of that has been with the United States. The attacks on the Islamic Republic and the weakening of the proxies, that was Israel and United States together combined. And the current peace plan between Lebanon and Israel, either it works, people say it wouldn't because Lebanese army is very weak, or it doesn't. But right now, that peace deal is a win-win for Israel because the agreement is that if the Lebanese army fails, based on that agreement, Israel still then has the right to go do what it needs to do against Hezbollah with a lot more legitimacy and U.S. backing. And if you read that peace deal, if you read Articles 11, it commits the United States as well against Hezbollah, which is amazing. So yeah, we kept on telling, hey, stop. I mean, also the stopping of Israel uh, was a necessary show, at least for the Islamic Republic, because if the Americans are making a lot of progress with Ghalibaf inside Iran, then, and if Ghalibaf needed an MOU that at least pretends to try to hold back Israel, and if the Americans are able to use Ghalibaf and the MOU to internally divide and weaken the Islamic Republic from inside, then at the end of the day, that works for is like that is in the benefit of Israel. You might be putting a pause on attacking Hezbollah, but you're making a lot of progress at weakening the source of funding for Hezbollah. And if the again, I'm not saying it would be successful, but if the Americans are successful with this deal that they have come up with between Lebanon and Israel and manage to make the IDF work with a Lebanese army in Hezbollah, then that pause on attacking Hezbollah was not that much of a loss compared to the gain that we're going to get, you know, from this. And also, we have to also understand that while President Trump was saying like, "Oh, we should Israel stop this," President Trump in all of those months was doing something that many people didn't pay attention to in Iraq, which is the area where the Islamic Republic needs to get resources to Hezbollah. President Trump deserves credit right now for pushing against Nouri al-Maliki becoming the next prime minister of Iraq, right? And many people weren't paying attention for when he was doing that. Over the past few months, he was pushing for that. And that led to Iraq not becoming the proxy of the Islamic Republic, which is this is the segment I wanted to talk to, but I'll just quickly talk about it quickly here. And basically, we already lost Assad, so that's a block between the Islamic Republic and Lebanon right now. If and now with this new Prime Minister Al Zaidi, the Islamic Republic is losing a lot of its influence in Iraq as well, which is going to make it extremely more difficult for the Islamic Republic to continue supporting Hezbollah. So while we put a very short temporary pause on Israel attacking Hezbollah, the United States did so many things in Iran, in Iraq, in Lebanon to continuously weaken Hezbollah while all of that was happening.
I accept all what you say, but with the problem, the main problem here is a problem of credibility. If you come to your allies in the Middle East and say, guys, I'm going to punch Iran so bad that either they're going to surrender or they're going to die, and at the end they don't surrender, the way surrender looks like, and they don't die, then your allies in the region say, "Can I really trust this guy next time he tells me something?" And that matters. That it matters, even though you can show me now how behind the scenes things are happening, etc. The question people ask themselves in the Middle East: next time they're going to tell us they're going to come to our aid and beat this guy up or beat the, can we really trust them? Are they going to deliver? And that would matter in the way they behave. Maybe now they don't have a choice because it's the US, but in the long run, damaging your reputation and credibility matters in the decisions, for the decisions of those who are supposed to work with you. But I also accept your points about how beneficial the situation can be, especially when it comes to what's happening in Lebanon, which is indeed good news.
So by the way, you're completely right. It does hurt the credibility. We do have to remember, though, that United States promised, under George Bush Sr., promised the Shias that they will back them if they do an uprising against Saddam. They did an uprising. Saddam did a massacre on them, and George Bush Sr. never showed up. Okay, so there was that, and then we had President Trump, in United States as a whole, in Syria, uh, basically promised support for the Kurds, and then they abandoned them. And right now, even till this day, those Kurdish groups over there, they remember that, and they feel very betrayed by United States in abandoning them, even though they said they wouldn't, right? And we have many examples of that in U.S. history, and people still come back to the United States. People still come back to the United States. That's the privilege that's have when you have such a giant economy and such a giant military and the best weapons in the world. People. There's so many examples of United States saying it would do something and then not doing it because they calculated and they changed their mind. And the world still comes back to the United States because that's what you get to do when you're this big and this powerful. But I'm not saying it doesn't have its cost, but it is the case. Okay, so
But in Arabic, they say a hand that you cannot overcome, kiss it and wish for it to break. So now they kiss that hand, but with the way the U.S. behave, everyone wishes, not everyone, but a lot are wishing for it to break, and I don't think that for the long run that it's good for them. But I can see your point. Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna read three super chats and then we're gonna go to Neil Bunny's comment. Um, so Fleshy Interloper gave a super chat saying no funds. Lebanon is doing just fine. Oh, I think this is for keeping the Islamic Republic out of Lebanon. Yeah, exactly. And then we got another super chat from Fleshy Interloper saying Calamari Strategy is working. So this is Fleshy Interloper is using the cutting of the tentacles of the Islamic Republic. He coined it as a Calamari Strategy. Guys, if this picks up and it goes trending, everybody remember that it was Fleshy Interloper that started this. I like it actually. And then we got another super chat from Danny. Danny Delicious ISR saying, under some presidents, we could barely defend ourselves. Under some presidents, we could barely defend ourselves. Hmm, I think the I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that the United States is more powerful than even some Americans understand, and I think that um, the strength of United States goes beyond who's in the White House. One of the reasons why United States is very powerful is the limitations of power of different, um, branches of the government, including the president. And I think the United States has created such a powerful structure that the worst president could do damage to the country, but limited and recoverable damage because of the way that the United States structure. I keep saying because I cover Iran so much, I keep speaking. But the way that the United States has structured its government and its institutions is a way that it keeps growing even with shitty politicians. It's the power of the institutions, right? It doesn't rely on the people. It doesn't. United States doesn't rely on good politicians. It relies on good values and and the power of the institutions that it has. It's deep rooted, like, and it cannot be. It cannot be undone.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.